What if you could silence the noise of the world and access inner bliss? What if you knew the shining formulas for overcoming the enormous challenges that every soul faces? Welcome everyone, I'm Shakti Durga. Mystery School Podcast, Ancient Wisdom for Everyday Life. We'll explore the ancient wisdom of the East and West, sharing stories and music, channeling light beings, scanning the unseen world, learning useful spiritual tools, and bringing forth peace, love, purpose, and abundance. In Mystery School, we co-create and share sacred frequencies, sending ripples of love that empower new possibilities to ignite our spirits, overcome obstacles, manifest our most inspired life, a life where your challenges become doorways to your deepest truth, where you anchor yourself in clarity and presence, not from your pain, but from the doors it opens into the deepest wisdom that's already within you. Your path has already begun. It's right beneath your feet. Let's illuminate that path together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I want to welcome you to another incredible episode today with Shakti Durga. And we've got something very special today. You know, this is one of the moments where when we do a show called either a mystical map of consciousness or understanding the long and winding road, as my mom used to say 100 million times, you know, honey, girls, it's a long and winding road. And, you know, when you grow up, you don't quite understand what that is. You don't quite understand that it would be easy, better if you could learn a few tools on the way. Today, joining me, my fabulous co-host, this is the show that she has created, Shakti Durga. This is Mystery School, Ancient Wisdom for Everyday Life. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about today, don't we, Shakti? I mean, right? This is a big one.
Yeah, it is a big one. It is a big one because there's so much going on in all of our lives, don't you think? And it's a time that seems very crazy, and you think to yourself, well, you know, what can I do? And a lot of people, I think, are getting depressed and anxious about the state of the world, the state of, you know, what's going on in their lives, both personally and collectively. And so I think the mysteries have got a lot to offer us in terms of tools, not just to feel better, but to actually equip ourselves to be part of the creative force that we can move forward into a better world. In most of the mystery traditions I've ever studied, it's seen that the obstacles and problems that we have in our life and the hurdles that we face are absolutely core to our development, and that they are not obstacles on the path, they are the path. They are the path. And so that's one of the important things. But then, okay, if that's the path, how on earth do I walk forward on it? And so it's a mixture of knowing that when certain things are going to happen, there are a toolbox of things that you can do with that so that you can minimize the energy of disruption and optimize the possibility that you'll be able to walk through this challenge enriched and brighter than ever, with more love in your heart than you ever realized you were possibly capable of, and that you'll be transformed in a good way by the experience.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people get lost in all of that.
I think I've been lost in it. I mean, most of my life, if you really want me to be honest here today, because that's the way I felt, I would say the first 40 years of my life. And, you know, there's something that if we're really fortunate enough to have a wake up moment, some people call them an awakening. And, you know, there are different things that happen in life. Some of us have near death experiences. Some of us just wake up. And, you know, the question then becomes, well, now what? Who am I really?
Yes, indeed. And that's a question I'd like to help people understand with a bit more depth. And it'll give us options for how do I walk around obstacles. You know, that sometimes when we utilize the tools I'm about to share with people, they'll think, well, it hasn't worked straight away. Or, you know, it wasn't a straight line to get where I wanted to go. And so I'm going to give up. But actually, if you understand in advance that the universe is going to take you on a circuitous route to wherever you want to be, and you might just want really to go from A to B, but the universe will take you to P, H, and D before you get to B, to avoid some things that would be just too hard, and to also equip you with the resources you need to get there. So having said that, let's have a look at a mystical map of consciousness. So the consciousness equation starts with the physical, where we see ourselves as part of the structure of the earth, which of course we are. And in our physical landscape, we have what we can see and hear and taste and feel and smell. We have the material world that we're used to. Most people stop there with their exploration, and then, in the last 100 years, we've had psychotherapy, which takes us into another space as well. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. But whilst many of our problems and issues happen in the physical world, sometimes the solution to them comes from a different part of this consciousness equation. So let's just go on and understand this a little more deeply. The energy body is another part of who we be. And in this particular part of ourselves, we hold an awful lot of attractions and cords of attachment and meridians, and we actually store our consciousness in the energy body, and it's like a transfer station to the upper parts of the consciousness equation. One of the things I really love to do with people in this work is to help them understand the many, many options that they have to solve problems, and each of these has a swag of tools that will help them. So so the transfer system between the worlds, we'll come back to that one perhaps. If we move into the middle of the consciousness equation, we find the realm of the mind. So the realm of the mind is where we do all of our thinking, our believing, we have our memories, our expectations, our feelings are in here. It's a very important part. This is called the astral field in the Western mysteries, the astral field. So anytime you're thinking, anytime there's any stimulus at all in your head, then you are actually in the astral field. That is where you are. You're not in the physical world. You can't bang a nail into a thought, you're not in the same realm. You're actually in a different dimension doing your thinking. So whilst the brain is a physical thing that can receive astral impressions, in the mysteries they teach that they're actually not generated there, they're generated in this other part of who we be. So that's a very important part, because it's also like it's fabulous and amazing, and the mind is just incredible, as we all know, but it can be a bit of a blockage sometimes because we start believing things that just are very limiting.
Yeah.
And what we do with the mind is we build a sense of our beliefs that are, this is how life is, therefore blinkering ourselves from what's over there and what's over there. And in the Western mysteries, that's called the veil. So the veil that we put in front of us. And so what we want to do is get through the veil, and we want to go into these other parts of who we be to get inspiration so that we can help solve our problems. And so let's go on to the next dimension, which is the dimension of the soul. And so here we're talking about the higher soul and its exquisite reality, that you don't have to really develop anything. You already have a higher soul. It already exists within you. And to most of the people in the mystical path, most of the masters, and my own experience is that the soul is actually a geometry of light and sound, and that everyone's soul has a slightly different harmonic. And the light and sound of the soul is something that you can tune into, and you can learn practices that will help you do that. So this is also the realm of when we talk about ascended masters. Well, where do they live? Well, they live in this kind of realm. It's where the archangels are helping us from. And between our lifetimes, it's kind of where we be. We're aiming to go back there and to, process what happened in this life and then come back again and have another go at anything we kind of missed on the first go round in terms of our development. But one of the remarkable things about the realm of the soul is that it's vastly full of consciousness, and yet there's no thinking in here. There's no thoughts. So if one is having thoughts in the mind, you're not in the soul realm. So even in a state of meditation, when there's still thoughts, well, that's astral leaking in around the sides. But when you have an experience of the soul realm, you actually go into a state of pure beingness. The mind is literally empty, and one can learn how to do that. it's and you might think, well, what's the point? I already can goof off by myself, but it's not goofing off, it's goofing in. If you want to know, it's the most amazing, exquisite state. And very often into that stillness and silence and bliss will come hurtling the light and knowing of exactly what you need. So yeah, very amazing.
It is amazing. And, I love what you said in terms of when we have the realization that there is this veil, it's almost like a film. It's like we get clouded over. I don't know if you've ever been anywhere where you get this film in your eyes because you're at an altitude or you're someplace where you just can't see right. And, I've been on hikes like that and I've been on journeys like that without realizing all I have to do is get a tissue and clear my eyes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm oversimplifying it, but it's the same kind of idea, is to understand that we are more powerful than we think.
Yeah. We are definitely more powerful than we think. And so finally we come to the top of the V diagram, which is the part that is the same in all of us, which is the divine essence. So whatever you want to call that, whatever your belief system calls that, whether it's Allah or the quantum field or God, that infinite place from which comes everything, including our souls. But in this place, there's no sense of you and me. There's no sense of your soul and my soul. There's just the infinite oneness. And this is the essence to which perhaps people might direct their prayers, when they're in difficult times. And then what's going to happen is, as soon as we pray, that's recognized in the infinite dimension because it's self. So already the divine can hear that prayer and is already sending an answer. But the trouble is we have trickiness in the soul dimension to deal with. For instance, in there we have, how have we obeyed the spiritual laws? Have we been attached to stuff? What about karma? There's a lot of 12 spiritual laws that I know about, probably more. But so we learn about that. We learn how to work with those things. And then perhaps you're good on that level, but you come down into the astral level. And part of your subconscious belief system is God's not going to answer my prayers. There's all these reasons why not. Or I don't want to hear that answer. How often do we not like the guidance when it comes in? And so we can block it there and it just sort of disappears. Similarly, our energy field can get all gummed up and be not receptive to the divine that's trying to help us. So by working systematically on each one of these dimensions with the tools that pertain to that dimension, we can make extraordinary progress in our lives. And that's really the invitation, is that if you're really serious about moving ahead and working with everything going on in your life, then this is the place, I think, that you might enjoy.
And what we're talking about here is the, I like to call it the integration. It's almost like you're creating this tapestry of thoughts and beliefs and projections and emotions. And, what enters into there is like, oh, I'm afraid, but I don't know what to do with my fear. So let me blame someone. Let me point the finger. And, don't you think that when we go to that place, we have to remember how to get back to the center of things, or those things will run our life. That is not the pathway to be the person we're meant to be, to get on the pathway of who we really are.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And this business of that there's light and dark, that there's polarity.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a whole show about that perhaps. And
I would love to.
The dance of light and dark and where that takes place in this equation and where it doesn't take place, so that we have a safe harbor that we can access through spiritual practices and get the resources we need to deal with polarity. So yeah, that would be great, because really all it's trying to do is wake up more love inside of us. That's the thing, that we become kind of like love on legs. And that's the point of spiritual training, really. And the alchemists would say that if you go through a whole lot of spiritual training and you learn all these funky things, but you don't have more love in your heart than you did when you started, they say it's a false tincture. In alchemy, it's a false tincture. So yeah, we've got to wake that love up.
I remember growing up and somebody gave me a poem, and they gave me this poem by Rumi. And they said, you know, Pat, you're not going to understand this today, although you might. But there'll be some day when you understand it, and it'll have a profound effect on you and your life. And really what it is, it's the, you know, out beyond ideas of right of wrongdoing and right doing. There's a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about ideas, language, even a phrase each other doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was such a fascinating poem. And I'm still a student of that poem, because
too.
some days I think I know it, and some days I think, what the heck were you talking about, Rumi, right?
Yeah. Profound, wasn't he? Just profound. Yeah.
But the part that grabbed me was the top part. Beyond the field of wrongdoing and right doing, I'll meet you there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So that infinite's flowing through all of us. And at that level, everyone's connected. Even your adversaries, even those who criticize you, even those whose politics or belief system you completely disagree with. At this level, we're all one. And the realization of that is really the growth of consciousness that a mystic is looking for. Because as we come into that oneness and we bring more love into the way we can talk to each other, we find avenues to coexist in our world that are invisible at a lower level of consciousness. It's just the way it is. So how do you build the strength and have the staying power, the tenacity, all that boring stuff? But it's not. It's just fundamental to, if we're going to change the world, we've got to get serious about learning to love.
Well, part of learning to love on this show is the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful music. And we're going to really take that in right now. We're going to take a very, very short break. But before we do, can you let people know the best way to find out more about what we're talking about? Please also about the mystery schools and things you have going on. What's the best way for folks to do that?
Look, we have two websites. We have shantimission.org and shaktidurga.com. And on both of them, we've highlighted this program. And if you click on either of those websites, then you'll be led to where you can come into a free introductory program that will be running next week in a similar time slot, a couple of hours later in the day than this one. We'll be doing it next week. And we'll be looking at a practice that goes with this V diagram. And we'll take an hour maybe or 90 minutes, and it'll be very experiential program that people can start there and hear more about the rest of the school.
Let's take a short break. When we come back, please get yourself ready to lift the veil, to have a moment during this show where the true nature of who you are can emerge. Let's take a short break now. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I am going to turn this over to Shakti Durga right now because I want you all to get ready for something extraordinary. We have a very special musician, don't we, joining us now.
Do indeed. Veena Vani and I have been playing music together now for many years. She's a fabulous musician, amazing person, and spiritual aspirant. And so we really enjoy bringing some of the spiritual music to people. So she'll be playing the harp today, as you can see. So let's start. This song's called Waking Up More Love. And we wrote this whilst we were in China teaching some years ago. Waking up more love, waking up more love, waking up more love, we're making up more love. Listen with your heart and soul and feel the love, more love than you've ever known. Waking up more love, feel it in your heart and soul. You know it's what you want to do. burn away in the fire of the heart, waking up more love, waking up more love, waking up more love, waking up more love. Love is why we came here, and it's what we be. It's what connects you and me in the field of love. More love than you've ever known, you'll find within. A vast love, splendid and true, was always within you, waking up more love, waking up more love, waking up more love, waking up more love.
What a beautiful, beautiful piece. And, people have asked me, here's a question for you both. People have asked me from time to time, I know what I have to do. I know what will calm my mind. I know what will quiet things down for me. I know that I'm stuck. And what we just did here, if people feel like that, all they need to do is to go to this recording as a starting point.
Yeah.
But there are so many ways that you teach people how to truly walk the path.
That's right.
My friend Monica Sicard and mentored me in the Lakota traditions here, native Lakota traditions. And one of the things she said, Pat, you always have to remember, may you always walk in beauty.
That's a lovely one. That's a lovely one.
And that's what you just shared with us. That's what you really opened the door for us to do. Thank you so much. Can you, both of you, Veena, thank you so much for everything, Veena. And what's your personal message? What would you like to leave us with today?
That love is everywhere. It's a softness and a beauty.
Okay. Yes, it's one of our favorite things is to help people find that love and to just stop and breathe and drop in a little deeper than you have so far and ask the divine to help you. That's the real message from today for me is if you don't ask, you're not going to get. So ask the divine for what you want, because the law of free will may otherwise prevent the divine from helping you because you haven't asked. So consider prayer as a way to connect with the top of the V diagram and start the cascade of energy coming down.
Thank you. Thank you both for this. We have much more to come, many shows to do, walking the path and the journey. And thank you for joining me beyond that field of wrongdoing and right doing. And every day I strive to really understand what that really means, but you're helping along the way. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Nat, thank you for producing a beautiful show. And to all of you out there, this is a very special show. We're on every other week. And the reason that this show is very important is because within this show, every episode will provide you with a door. And all you have to do is walk through it. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Thank you for joining me for Mystery School, Ancient Wisdom for Everyday Life. Be the detective of your spirit and soul and seek the doorways to a new reality. Take one insight from today and let it illuminate your path. Visit shantimission.org to learn more about our other programs, meditations and resources for living with ease and grace, and sign up for our free Soulful Relationships Masterclass. In this class, will cleanse and purify the relationship energy in a key relationship in your life. Previous students have experienced rapid transformation in their marriages, in their relationships, with family, work colleagues, teenagers, just from this one practice. And you'll have a spiritual key to successful relationships that you can use again and again. Sign up for the free masterclass at shantimission.org. And we'll be back at 3 p.m. Pacific time every first and third Monday for Mystery School. Mark it in your calendar. We'll see you next time.